Welcome to the MuseCast, where we squeeze every last drop of inspiration out of Sunday's sermon.
You look so suspicious.
Well, I kind of drifted off to the right here.
You did. Like, what was it? Is there like a slope in the office these days?
Well, and I got to be careful too, because those are my books. I don't want to dent my books, you know?
Yeah. Slow your roll, as they say.
I think that's right.
Oh, goodness. Happy Muse Day, Dan.
Happy Muse Day.
Looky there. Hey, happy Muse Day to you all. Welcome. He's Dan Kent. I'm Shawna Boren. This is the MuseCast. And every week we come here and we just chat. We, bat a few things around. We have some ideas. We have some ponderings. We have, some maybe insight if you guys find that helpful. I don't know.
Well, I tell you today I don't feel like I have much insight. So I'm going to need some Holy Spirit. I'm going to need some MuseCast energy. Yeah. So, we'll see. Which is not a commentary on the sermon, because the sermon I thought was fantastic. It's an issue with me. So, and we just chatted about this before the show. Yeah. It's dark. It's midnight outside.
It is so midnight outside. And what are we doing up?
Right. And this is why I don't care about my clock on the wall. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter what the clock says. It's midnight outside.
It truly is midnight outside. We should be in our slumber. This is what I'll say. Yeah. I was really surprisingly encouraged by the way that we closed out Dragon Slayers. And we know this chapter because you did it too. Mm-hmm. Chapter 13 was a doozy, and it had the potential to just really make people jump off a cliff. But I personally appreciate the way we've handled these texts.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened on Sunday. Greg closed out Dragon Slayers, closed out Revelation 13. The beast of wow and wonder. And so I just think, and maybe that's playing, it felt like a nice little conclusion, a nice little bow. And so maybe that's why too, we're feeling a bit more like, I don't know what we have to add.
What else is there? That's right. What else is there? Yeah. Well, with that, thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Have a happy holiday. Yeah. No, I will say though, that Greg talked about how he didn't get it in time, but one of our non-local covenant partners sent him some AI information that he could have gotten lost in, because he's just really fascinated by it and interested in it. And that's all I'll say there.
Yeah. Well, I'll say before I do my summary, it's. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like something that I'm surprised to learn or anything like that, because, I don't know how long you've known Greg, but I've known Greg since the 90s, kind of arm's length for quite a while. But I've always felt like he has, as smart as he is, and he is really sharp, he has always, like, what's the word I'm trying to think of? He has always allowed other people's input to shape what he does and how he thinks, and he listens. He listens to others. Yes, and that surprises me, not because of Greg, but because of human nature. And
exactly.
So this weekend was a great example, because he really got into the AI stuff.
He did. Really... He has been very vulnerable and open about, like, he can hyperfixate and go down a path and just really want all the information. And then you're excited, so he wants to share all the information.
Right.
But thankfully, we have a team that says.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. And I'm just,
and it was all good. It really was all good stuff. It was just we needed to put a bow on it, and he did. We gave him some ideas, and he really worked the whole thing, and I thought he did a great job. So
Dan won't say this, but I'm going to say it, that Dan Kent was kind of like, Well, too much. Like, so,
Yeah.
but so you did that, and we're thankful.
Well,
I will also say to what you were just saying too, I don't know of any other um, leader with Greg's history, with Greg's knowledge, his expertise, the stage that he is on, the people that listen to him. He could easily be like, look, I studied this. I want to present this, and thank you, but no thank you. He could. He really could. He could just be like, man, but he doesn't. He really listens and takes that feedback. And I am, again, it's rare to submit to a team in that way, because you work hard, you put in time, you study, you gather things, and you're excited to present it, and then to be told it's too much, or we need to make some shifts, like, and then for him to do it's beautiful. And I just,
yeah.
I think it just speaks to the culture of our team, our staff, our church, our community, and it's really beautiful. So I'm just, yeah, it's great.
Yep. Amen. And
Amen.
with that,
amen.
Let's do a summary.
Summary.
Okay.
What was the title, Dan?
The Beast of Wow and Wonder. It's a really good. It was a good title, and I'll confess this. My title game for my sermons has been really off. I have not. For a while I was doing really good with the titles, and then it just lost focus, and
hit a bit of a road bump.
Yeah, and I just got into the messages, and I haven't really brought a good title game. So I need to up my title game on my own sermons going forward. So all that being said, The Beast of Wow and Wonder, we're finishing up chapters 12 and 13 of Revelation. This is the Dragon Slayer series. And so we're looking at the dragon, and he calls forth these two beasts, and he kind of creates this false trinity, and we've kind of explored that over the last couple weeks. But in this sermon, to close out the series, he's looking at the second half of chapter 13, and so the focus is on the second beast, which is the Beast of Wow and Wonder, is what Greg calls it. And really, the job of this second beast is to point to the dragon, or the first beast, which points to the dragon. Ultimately, both beasts serve the dragon, who is Satan. That's sort of how the imagery works in this chapter. Now, the goal of the beast both beasts is to trap us, to trap people in endless striving without satisfaction. That's sort of the goal there. And so he kind of, read through the chapter and kind of highlighted a couple things, a couple quick notes, actually just one mostly. He noted, and this is the chapter where the famous 666 comes from. And so he just took a minute to talk about how this mark of the beast was really sort of a numerical way of kind of coding language and coding ideas in numbers. And it had to do with the letters of the alphabet then had a numerical code, and you could use numbers then to communicate ideas. You would just have to translate them into the words. And so after that, he talked about, in particular, this second beast and what this beast mimics. And again, just like the first beast, it points to something that Rome was doing, because Rome was really the big threat, the big powerful empire of John's time. And what John suggests is that this second beast is all about wowing people and making them impressed and amazed with something that ultimately is not good for them. And so he talked about how in Rome, these Caesars would put on these shows to demonstrate that the gods were in their favor and the gods were supporting them. And they would have these kind of big, religious ceremonies where these magic things would happen. Well, it turns out that they were, of course, just like fake. They were tricks, and they involved different physics and gears and switches and things like that. But the idea was to get people to think that there was something supernatural about this empire. This was not just any normal empire. This was an empire blessed by God, and a lot of people fell for that. And John uses that in Revelation to talk about how Satan works. And this second beast is all about creating wow and wonder about things that are not of God. They might not be inherently bad, but they can be used to get us fixated and worshiping something that is not God. And so that is sort of the danger of the beast, is to get us to be just wowed by something that ends up kind of prying our allegiance away from God to something ungodly. Now, Greg then asks, well, where do we see this beast of wow and wonder with the magic and all of that? Where do we see that today? And just like the first beast, we see it everywhere. It's all over the place, and especially in our technology. And, because, wow, I mean, for us, ever since, the 18th century, we've just been on an explosion of technological advance, and especially even in the last 50 years has just been this incredible speedy, like unstoppable advance of technology. And it feels like wow, life is really improving, and you can't help but be wowed and awed by what humanity can do with what we've been given on this planet. And it really is dazzling. It's easy to put our trust into technology, that technology will save us and technology will make us the people we want to be, and so on and so forth. And it can become sort of an idol. And that is really dangerous, because technology, it does good things, and by itself it's inherently neutral, that Greg said, and I agree with him on that. But there can be secondary consequences or implications of technology that can be really dangerous. And he just shared some examples, for instance, forever chemicals that we have from a lot of the plastics that we use, and the different chemicals that we use. BPA is another one that I think of often. But now we have all these little microplastics and chemicals in our blood and in the sinews and in our tissues and in our bones. And so now we're just these walking, foreign chemistry blobs. And social media is another good example, where this thing that was supposed to connect us has created polarization and separated us. And, now AI is sort of the new thing. And we're just barely dipping our toes into the dangers that that's going to create, and the problems that might bring us to. And, and he just said that as Christians, we're called to look at all of this stuff sober-mindedly, and to be a resistance, not necessarily to technology, because like he said, technology is neutral, but definitely to resist the idolization of technology, and to be cautious about the wow and the wonder of it, and to look at it, in its proper perspective. And he gives us three sort of practices or practical ways of looking at this. The first one is to just be sober-minded, and that's something that we've been coming back to since your sermon a few weeks ago. Which was a very important part of this really whole series, which I was not anticipating that would be play such a huge role, but it did. And then so he just said, don't be intoxicated by this stuff. Use it, but be responsible with it, and be careful with it, and maybe limit your time with it, and be intentional about how you use it. And then the second takeaway, he said, is that we need to see through the deception of it, because technology is often kind of oversold by its evangelists as something that is going to save the world. And always we see this all the time, where we're told that this thing is going to save us time, but it ultimately somehow doesn't. It's just uncanny. The third kind of takeaway is to just ask, where should you be getting your wow from? Because it's dangerous to get too easily wowed by technology, and instead we should be getting our wow from things that God intends for us. We should be getting our wow from nature, for instance. And in fact, when you look at the Bible, and Greg didn't say this, but I'll just add this for no extra charge. But like in the scriptures, we're told that nature is so amazing that we encounter God there, and I don't think it's a coincidence that one of the consequences of technology is that it's sort of wrecking nature, which is tragic. But, just kind of look at things. So much of our technology and our advances are about activating our dopamine, these short-term pleasure sort of neurotransmitters. But what leads to real lasting happiness is our serotonin and oxytocin, and those are developed and those are activated through relationships, through loving relationships, through our children, and through learning skills, and being in nature and things like that, all things that technology tends to compete against. And so we have to just remember, where are we designed to be wowed at, and to focus ourselves on that. We should be wowed not by the beast of wow and wonder, but we should always seek to be wowed by the lamb. And sometimes that's hard to do because it's just a little lamb. Look at the beast of wow and wonder, and you have to sort of always be conscientious of that, and to discipline and to invest yourself in learning more about the lamb. That is my summary. I sort of strayed a little bit from where Greg went, but that is a creative summary of what Greg said. So what are your thoughts on his sermon, and so on and so forth?
Thanks, Dan. Good job on the summary. Don't feel like you strayed. I feel like you captured it well. So I kind of put the cart before the horse, like in our intro, and I was just like, I was really encouraged by this sermon, surprisingly so. So let me say again, I was genuinely encouraged by the sermon, because I've said this before, like I don't want to be snookered. I don't want to be caught off guard. You know what I mean? And so for me, this was just like a wake-up call, because these beasts, they are deceivers, and there is a ton of deception there. And so I think it's apropos, it's wise, and good to say, where do we see this spirit at work? Where do we see, these machinations at work? And the truth is, it is everywhere. And as thankful as I am, and we've said this, to be living in the time that I am, with the technological advances that we have afforded to us, I'm so thankful. We do have to remember that our allegiance isn't to this world and our comfort and our convenience. We have a different allegiance. And does that mean that we don't partake in the technology whatsoever? That's for each person to decide, but that's not what we're saying. What we are saying is just take a sober look at it, sober-minded look, and don't be wooed and intoxicated into thinking this is the answer to everything. Because yes, Greg said it, you said it, I'm going to say it again, technology is neutral, and there is so many good things and opportunities that come from technology and these advancements and the things that are afforded to us that weren't, 50, 60 years ago. But the propensity for good, I think, is also just an equal propensity for not so good. And I think it's important just to wake up to that. I do find it interesting that we have each, the three of us, kind of circled around this being sober-minded. And I think if people are honest with themselves, and this is me going a bit beyond what I thought of the sermon, this is just kind of how I've been reflecting on it and applying it. I think if we're honest with ourselves, there are many people who would say technology, their devices, the streaming, the social media, all the things, it can be addicting. We spend so much of our time on it and looking at a screen and doing stuff. So it can be addicting. Like try to put it away and see how that feels. I think that's interesting. So that was something that I felt a little nudge, like, hey, there are all kinds of ways that this stuff can be used for good and you can be thankful for it, but you also need to be careful to not be controlled by it, had by it, and thinking it's the solution and the answer to all the things. Because one of the most sobering parts of what Greg was sharing in regards to technology is just for so many, the ends justify the means. But those means can be pretty sad and pretty bad. And so we don't consider the ramifications. We just think we got to do it because we can do it and we should. Like, there's no thought of how is this going to impact, not only this generation, but the next generation and the next. There's not that kind of forward thinking always about it. And so that was just really intriguing and interesting to me. So
yeah, that's a good point too. That idea that the ends justify the means. And the end is typically the economy. That's sort of like, and so the means are, whatever we need to do to make that happen. And that is a fundamental conflict with the Christian faith, because in the Christian faith, the means are everything. How you live is the whole show. In fact, what we've learned in Revelation is, how your life turns out might not be good. The ends aren't going to happen here. The real end doesn't happen here. The real end happens when God ushers in His kingdom, and so while we're here, everything is about the means, how you treat one another, and do you take care of the earth and the animal kingdom, and and so I think that's a really good point. So
I was even just thinking, because the whole goal in these teachings is to, yes, learn something collectively as a church body, as a community, but then also so how does this play out in my life? Hopefully we're all asking those questions. How does this play out in my life? Hopefully we're not just leaving it on a Sunday and thinking, well, that was another good teaching and I've got some more head knowledge. Should be impacting, our lives. And I was even just thinking of the conveniences that I enjoy, the certain things that I enjoy. And I'm just going to be vulnerable and honest. It's not anything, but something that started, I would say, during COVID, that started out as a necessity because of what was happening in the world, was Drive Up, the ability to go to a store, pull into a certain spot, and they will bring out whatever it is that you ordered, your groceries and stuff. So convenient, lovely. And I'm not going to lie, I prefer Drive Up than going into a store and shopping and going up and down the aisle and pulling the stuff and blah, blah, blah. Super convenient. But then I realized that while it is more convenient for me and maybe even saves me some time and maybe keeps me more focused on what I'm purchasing, it's also caused me to miss out on opportunities that I'm not aware of. Opportunities to maybe meet someone in while you're shopping and meet someone. That sounds weird, like I'm a single lady troll in the food aisle for a date. That's not what I mean. I mean to engage with people, right? Or even, and I see these videos on social media of this one guy. He just goes around, and when he sees someone struggling to pay for something, he just puts his card and just pays for it. Usually it's someone's groceries or whatever. You miss those opportunities to engage with people and to maybe bless people, or to maybe see an opportunity there for something cool or good to happen. I've totally taken myself out of that equation, because why? I prefer Drive Up, and I prefer to, that convenience factor. That's just a small thing, but I kind of, at least for me, I feel like that's kind of the point. In what ways are we so dependent on the convenience of these advancements that we are really missing out on living a life that is a blessing to others and yourself? I don't know if that's just getting too weird or wonky with it, but that's kind of what
I think that's exactly right. One of the things that I notice is that like, from like 2016 to 2020, I just had made a commitment. I was going to write a poem per day. So one
Yeah.
poem per day. And it was great. And I was, busy doing things. And so I had all these neat little encounters and stories and things like that. COVID hit,
Yeah.
and there were no more little encounters and stories. And like, life becomes less interesting. And I ended up stopping that little practice. And that's kind of speaking to what you're saying, is that
Yeah.
you miss out on those little encounters, and those are not only dopaminergic, but because they create a sense of belonging when you're out in the community and you know people and you recognize that person, and they're also serotonergic, there's a cost to all of that, and I think that's a really, really good point, and that applies to everything as well, because like every time saving device, it's like, one of the things that I've been trying, and I think maybe I said this last week, I've been trying to read all of the books on my bookshelf.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
most of them I have, but there's a lot of them that I bought. I'm like, oh, I need to read this, and I just never quite got to it. And so the last 2 years, I've been really kind of going at it, and I also, after college, I decided I wanted to read the classics, because I like reading, but what I don't like is I don't like starting a book and it's really dumb. And as a way of like combating that risk, it's like, well, the classics, there's a better chance that those are going to be good. And so I started reading all of these classics, The Great Gatsby and Lord of the Flies and, Catch 22 and The Brothers Karamazov. And I'm like, well, I'm going to start doing that again. And so I've been reading these classics, and it's so easy to just watch a show, stream a show, and
Yep.
but I tell you, like, there's a lot to say about this, but I feel my brain feels better after reading than after watching a show. As entertaining as shows can be, and they can be, my brain actually just feels better after I've read a good book.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, those are some great points. And I also think, like, if you think through just the technological advancements that we most readily use on a daily basis, and typically now I'm not talking like the things medically necessary that have helped save a life and all of that. Like, I am so thankful for all of that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I just have to be mindful that a lot of the things that I enjoy, because I'm a woman living in 2025, they just make things easier for me. And then ultimately, it makes it easier for me to not need anyone else. I can take care of it myself because I have a device or something that I could tap a few buttons or numbers and I get what I need. And I'm wondering if that's playing into, because we have never been more fractured. We've never been more isolated from one another. We've never been more polarized. Like, it's just so easy to just like be very independent, take care of what you need, because we have everything at our fingertips. And so we don't need one another. And I think that is something as kingdom people, as believers, we really do need to push against, because we are called to do this thing together, relationally, and we're losing out on that because we just don't need people anymore. We don't need one another. We've got everything else at our fingertips.
Yep. I wish I do, and this is how it just pulls you in too, because like society ends up using these technologies and that forces you to use them. And, just one example is like, hold on, look at this. I love my paper calendar.
Yes, you do.
I love it.
You do. You do.
But, being a church, we have a lot of moving parts, and they have a centralized calendar system. Well, now I have to have an account and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Facebook is the same way, where it's like, I do like to be available for people and to be on there so that people could reach me. And, but it's so toxic and polarizing and all of that. And but then if you are a writer, you need to have a platform. You need to, kind of generate interest in your writings. And, Greg and I have a podcast that we do together, and it's important to share that with the people who listen to it. But that just gets you in there, and you need it more. And it's pretty vicious. And I'm wondering if I could use technology to escape technology.
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, I don't know. This is just fresh,
Okay.
It would be cool because there are platforms, tools that you can use that you can schedule posts on all of your social media. And so I was thinking, I wonder if I could schedule a post maybe once a month or once a week or something like that on Facebook, where I just say, listen, I love you all. I hate Facebook. If you want to reach me, here is my address. I would love a letter. And wouldn't it be fun to write letters again? Like to lick a stamp and put it in an envelope. How fun is it? Isn't it fun to get a letter from somebody? And wouldn't that be nice to go back to that? And it could just be so personal. And so wouldn't that be cool to just say, like, just schedule it? And then so like every few weeks, a post will go up saying, hey, if you haven't seen me here in a while, that's because I hate this bloody site. And you could reach me here. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah. No, that is interesting. I have a friend who still does. She'll send, I won't say letters, but like little notes and cards and stuff in the mail. And it is always, it never doesn't put a smile on my face when I get it, because it's always unexpected. And just, you go to your mailbox, you're expecting to get bills or some sort of property notices, or, nothing fun. And then for there to be this surprise letter, I love it.
Yeah.
I support that, Dan, if you want to go for it. Just be careful about giving out your home address, sir, because
well, I mean,
you just never know. Maybe get a P.O. box or something.
Yeah.
That's
true. Careful. Yeah, that's unfortunately that's probably right. But at the same time, I like to live dangerous. So.
Yeah, you do. You do. Well, if you had to, and this is not a nugget, so no cheating, but if you had to just, make a thesis statement about Dragon Slayers, since we are putting it to bed and we are moving on to our Christmas series, and then we have another series, so it'll be a minute before we're back in Revelation. If you had to make a thesis statement about Dragon Slayers, this is the last thing people are going to hear about Dragon Slayers, and I'm putting pressure on you. This is me filibustering while I'm asking you the question, but what would you say? How would you
you have to answer
put
this
a bow
too.
On it?
You have to answer this too, right?
Okay. We'll see.
I have to be clear on the terms and conditions before we, move
forward.
That's
true. I may add an addendum or two.
Okay. All right. That's good enough. That's good enough. I don't know. I would love more time to think about this and be careful.
I know
but
you would.
Spur of the moment, I would say that, as it relates to Revelation as a whole, and just this reality that we are born behind enemy lines in this spiritual war, but it's a war that God has won, the Lamb has conquered. Given all of that, where we're at right here is that God is calling us to not be afraid because the Lamb has won, and to be faithful. And right here, the challenge to all of that is that we have to use great discernment, because the enemy, even though he has lost, is still fighting. And this enemy is creating these mimeses is the word I used. It's these deceptive pseudo gods, these deceptive alternatives to God. So we have to discern and to get good at recognizing something that is not the Lamb, and so that we can stay faithful. I think that's how I would summarize this.
Yeah, good job. My addendum is, I think the faithfulness piece is huge. I think that's like the raging theme and I think that comes through genuine relationship, and I think that's the whole point. When you have genuine relationship with the Lamb, you know the character of the Lamb, you know the voice, you know what's right and what's off, and the beast, the dragon, deception through and through. And so what is he trying to deceive us about? What is he trying to deceive? Where is he's trying to get our allegiances off of the Lamb and onto this false God. And so be mindful of that, and be faithful. And it's not just a one-time mental ascent. Like, this is like throughout our lives, throughout our days, we have to make choices to reject the lies and the deception and focus on the truth. So I would, that's my addendum. I would say, just to be faithful, and that's to really lean into that relationship. Yeah.
I think that's good. I think that's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for tuning into Dragon Slayers. What a time it has been. And just a quick plug for our Christmas series that's coming up starting this week, you guys. Wow. Yeah. Wild. It's going to be good. Dan, I felt like, did a beautiful job promoting what it's going to be. Fulfilled. Yes. Fulfilled.
Yeah, that's right.
Fulfilled. Yeah. You know how I am.
Yeah. I wish I remembered what I said. I don't even know, but
it was so good. Just the different things that Jesus has fulfilled in our lives through scripture and God's story. And so I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be good. So just want to thank everyone for that. And I think what that means, Dan Kent, I'm pretty sure what that means is it's
yay!
Nuggets. Yes. Nugget time. Whoa, we get a spin.
That was a end of the series nugget dance. So,
yes. Yeah, I like it. Very good. That's very fancy. Do you want to nugget first or nugget last?
I could go either way. Oh.
That was rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. Well, I was rock, so.
I was paper. Paper covers rock.
Right, so you get to choose.
Oh, so I didn't want to choose. I'll go first because okay. I would just say my nugget is kind of reiterating things I've already said today, but my nugget is to really, ask yourselves the question, two questions that Greg posed to us in this sermon, and that it held true for last week as well. But where do we see the second beast operating? And I think he posed some really good reasons that technology is a big way in which we can see the second beast operating. And so my question is what is our relationship with technology? And I think that's something each of us needs to ask. Again, we're not saying, to disengage and just unplug everything. That's not what we're saying, but really to consider the relationship you have with technology and make sure that you're handling it appropriately. And consider taking a Sabbath from it every once in a while. Like, consider turning off all the things and being with people or being in nature, and discovering what truly does wow and wonder you. I really love that Greg ended the sermon that way. Like, where do we get our wow? Where do we get our wonder? And God has blessed us in so many ways that I want to be appreciative of that and to lean into that and get off of the hamster wheel of more all the time, where there's no margin, no space, and you're always feeling scarcity and it's never enough. And so that is my encouragement. That is my nugget. Consider your relationship with technology. Consider taking a break every once in a while and really embrace the beauty that God has already blessed us with people, friends, family, nature, animals. There's just so much that we could focus on if our minds are not just so tuned in to what's on our screen or, all of that good stuff. So
yeah,
that's
awesome. Yep. Good nugget. I think mine's related to that. I think that this is maybe how I'd say it, is that every new piece of technology that we utilize is meant to replace something that we either cannot do or that we could do but we don't want to do. We would prefer not to. And that is dangerous because, like, some of the examples I've used in the past is, I like when I go to Target, which I love about Target, by the way, you go there and they have the automatic doors. So you walk up there and they open for you and then you walk through, but off to the side, they have manual doors that you can, pull. Well, I use the manual doors. I don't need the doors to open for me. I have arms and hands and I have I still have a pretty good body. And I know that for some people they need that. And I'm really glad that they have those there.
Yeah.
But I don't need it. And in fact, part of, keeping it that way is by using my body to open the doors. Or escalators is another one. Man, I go to the mall and I just, I like to ride the escalator and sometimes I'll lean on the side and it's just, and you see people, it looks like they're taking a nap on it, and it's like, is that guy dead? No, he's just resting on the escalator.
He's chilling.
Right. And they just kind of lazily ride up to the next floor. And then, and it's funny because then you go to like Planet Fitness or whatever, and people are on the little gyrotron, with the little Stairmaster. And it's like, well, why not just use the stairs during the day? And then you don't have to worry about coming to Planet Fitness and all of that. And so, but it's more than that too. I mean, you have like, like one of the things with AI that I've done that I'm like, this is nice. I go to AI and I have all these prompts set up where I'll take a journal article of like some academic journal and I will upload it to AI and then I'll ask, what is the thesis of this article? What are the arguments that they make? What is the counter arguments that they consider? And then a bunch of what are the unique words that they use that are rare and what do those words mean? And please explain this as if I'm 10 years old, just like stuff like that where, because then what I can do is I can just upload these articles, see what it's about, and then I know whether or not I should actually be reading that or not. Because so many times you spend an hour reading this article and you realize this doesn't apply to anything that I'm doing, but now I know beforehand. Well, it doesn't actually save me any time though, because now I'm finding all these other articles that I want to read, and it expands everything, and so like that's the myth. It's like for every perceived convenience that you get, there's almost always some secondary thing, and this is why we've had labor saving and time saving devices for 50 years that have just exploded, and we can do things now that people just couldn't even imagine doing in 1960 even. And yet none of us have any more time available. In fact, I would argue that we have less time available. And that's why for me, how I am trying to think about using technology is I ask, does this technology allow me to do something that I couldn't do that is important to me? And if it's important to me and if it's something that I couldn't do, then I will try to use that in an intentional way. If it's replacing something that I could be doing, like the automatic doors and the escalator, then I'm much more critical about it because maybe I don't want AI to read for me because maybe that's taken away my ability to process and to cognitively make sense of stuff. And maybe by letting AI do that, those muscles are getting weaker in the same way that my leg muscles and my arm muscles get weaker by using all of the automated doors and escalators. And so that's how I've been looking at this, is every technological opportunity is a decision point. What does this do to me? Does this create atrophy in me someplace that maybe I don't want to atrophy? And so I think it's a helpful way of looking at all of the options. That is my nugget.
Nice job. Nice job. Well, again, thank you guys just for being around, being on this journey with us, and stay tuned for Fulfilled, our Christmas series. It's going to be great. It doesn't mean that if something comes up that you are reflecting on or wondering about, and you're like, actually, I have a question. You know us. We'll circle back.
That's right.
So if you have a question or a comment, you can send it to, where is that, Dan? There we go. Yes. MuseCast at whchurch.org. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a great week. For those of you who will be celebrating and gathering and giving thanks, we say bless you, and we are thankful for you. And we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.